As you say, time of the essence, and we know that the French ship with specialist robotic capabilities arrived sort of really within minutes or hours of the deadline, the presumed oxygen deadline expiring. So, as you say, the timing of this really crucial. We were talking to a former Royal Marines commando earlier in the programme about those conditions underneath. Your expertise is very much on these ROVs, these remotely operated vehicles that are down in the depths. When they get there, if we're talking about one of these vehicles, how many metres in that kind of environment might they be able to cover in, say, an hour-long period?
Yeah, not a huge area, because they only move relatively slowly, just a couple of miles an hour, perhaps, and because they're only relying on their own floodlights, the visibility, even if the visibility in the water is relatively good, if it's relatively clear water, you're only going to see 5 or 10 meters at a time. So yeah, it really is like walking around a really big darkened ballroom with a flashlight. It's got a very limited range.
And with 2 of them down on the ocean, yeah, that is still a very small area that we're talking about them being able to look at, isn't it?
Yes. To find anything at that water depth, you really need to have the target quite well defined. Otherwise, you can be in for a very long search. So this is the kind of thing people have done, for example, looking for hydrothermal vent sites, black smokers on the seafloor. And I've been involved in that sort of thing. And you can have driven your ROV just maybe 10 or 20 meters away from it and not even been aware that you were close to it.
Dive 6. Here we are again on the deck of Titanic. 2.5 miles down. 3,821 meters. Pressure outside is 3.5 tons per square inch. These windows are 9 inches thick, and if they go, it's sayonara in 2 microseconds.
You want to bring in?
Well, you know, in all of our search and rescue efforts that the Coast Guard does every day, we use all available data and information to prosecute those searches. But we continue to find, in particularly complex cases, that people's will to live, you know, really needs to be accounted for it as well. And so we're continuing to search and proceed with rescue efforts by bringing this new capability online this morning.
Absolutely. And about that new capability, I believe it's called the Magellan, this ROV. The president of the Explorers Club.
We've been really overwhelmed by all of the support that's been provided from the international community with regard to this complex search and rescue effort. And so when you know, we were notified of the casualty and brought together, or notified of the missing submersible, and brought together the unified command without a pre-planned response plan, without pre-staged gear, we really had to start from scratch and bring all of the capability that was available to bear on this problem. And so we made some decisions to prioritize based on gear that was closest to the site and could get there. And so now, right now, we have the ROVs operating on the bottom floor that have the ability to search and have the ability to attach rescue lines. I have medical personnel moving into the site as well with deep sea medical expertise and a hyperbaric chamber as well. And so we're going to continue with the search and rescue efforts. we are fully committed to prosecuting the search and rescue efforts. We spoke with the Unified Command last night, and teams are working really hard through the night to bring all available capability to bear on this. With the new capability that we have in the search rescue efforts this morning, we're going to continue searching throughout the day for this. Thank you.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. The ROV subsequently found additional debris. In consultation with experts from within the Unified Command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. Upon this determination, we immediately notified the families. This is an incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor. And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. This was a incredibly complex case, and we're still working to develop the details for the timeline involved with this casualty and the response.
Well, I've been down there many times, and I know the wreck site very well, as does my friend Bob Ballard. I've made 33 dives. I actually calculated that I've spent more time on the ship than the captain did back in the day. And of course, as a submersible designer myself, I designed and built a sub to go to the deepest place in the ocean, 3 times deeper than Titanic. So I understand the engineering problems associated with building this type of vehicle and all the safety protocols that you have to go through. And I think that what Bob said, because I was watching, is absolutely critical for people to really get the take-home message from this, from our effort here, is deep submergence diving is a mature art. From the early 60s, where there were a few accidents, nobody was killed in the deep submergence, until now, is more time than between Kitty Hawk and the flight of the first 747. So if we haven't improved over that period of time, we have improved drastically over that period of time, and the certification protocols that all other deep submergence vehicles, except this one, that carry passengers, especially paying passengers, all over the world in tropical waters, deep coral reefs, other wreck sites, and so on. The safety record is the gold standard, absolutely. Not only no fatalities, but no major incidents requiring all of these assets to converge to a site. Of course, that's the nightmare that we've all lived with, since all of us entered this field of deep exploration. We live with it in the back of our minds. But because implosion, as Bob described it, such a violent event, is first and foremost in our minds. The pressure boundary, which is what they call the hull of the sub, that the people go inside, is obviously first and foremost in our minds as engineers. And we spend so much time and energy on that. And we use all the computerized tools available today, finite element analysis. We worked on our sphere for our deep vehicle that went to the Challenger Deep for over 3 years, just in the computer, before we even made the thing. And then, of course, we pressure tested it over and over and over, and so on. So, this is a mature art, and many people in the community were very concerned about this sub, and a number of the top players in the deep submergence engineering community even wrote letters to the company saying that what they were doing was too experimental to carry passengers and that needed to be certified, and so on. So I'm struck by the similarity of the Titanic disaster itself, where the captain was repeatedly warned about ice ahead of his ship, and yet he steamed at full speed into an ice field on a moonless night, and many people died as a result. And for a very similar tragedy where warnings went unheeded to take place at the same exact site, with all the diving that's going on all around the world, I think it's just astonishing. It's really quite surreal. And of course, P.H. Nargeolet, the French legendary submersible dive pilot, a friend of mine. You know, it's a very small community. I've known PH for 25 years. For him to have died tragically in this way is almost impossible for me to process.